Cheap box. I guess that's why it's recyclable. Anyway. Oh, hey guys. Didn't notice you standing there. You startled me a little bit. Got that heart rate going. I see you're checking out the 56. We've got it off the frame table, off the jigs, and sitting on its own wheels. Pretty cool, eh? I think so. Quite a leap forward. I can just see your faces, you know, through that little lens there. It's like, whoa, Nick, she's sitting really high. Yes, she is. And there's a reason for that. If you heard the wind a couple of seconds ago, we live in Canada and it snows here year round, like 3 feet of snow all the time. And we need to get this car through the snow drifts. Not really. The suspension of the car is stock. We haven't done anything with it just yet. But what we have done is shaved a lot of weight off the frame, off the body, and frankly, there's no doors, there's no glass, there's no anything. So it is going to sit high. We'll tackle that later. What I was just doing though is cleaning up this bay, just making some room because we're going to shake things up today. Yeah, we got to put that on hold for a little bit. Hey folks, let me jump out of here. All right, here we go. If this is your first time seeing this 56 Chrysler, you're gonna say, what the hey? But if you've been following along, you're gonna say, whoa, you guys have really jumped ahead a lot. You got the car sitting on its own wheels on the 4-post. You've got the front corners of the roof blended in. This side, a little more welding to do. The other side's done. Sail panel on the driver's side is finished. The exterior skin is finished. This side here, which is what you saw me working on, I'm going to put this down before I hurt myself. We need to fill this sail panel in. I've got a piece of paper or pressed paper here prepared and called it pat. Thought it was appropriate. So we'll get that transferred onto some sheet metal. Fill that in. Once that is done, we can say the exterior skin of that roof is finished. Then we can go ahead and epoxy primer. Put a bead into this, epoxy primer the back side of this, and get the structural webs installed. So then the roof is going to be on the car permanently. There's no going back. Once that's done, we're going to jump on to that driver's door and get the bottom created in this video. We want to get the door solidified, so it's not moving around every time we open and close it. It's not good. And once that's done, in a future episode, we're going to get a pattern pulled and create this passenger side door, because if this is your first time seeing this car, you won't know that we purchased this car with no passenger side doors. This used to be a 4-door. Now we made it into a 2-door. Story goes, body shop lost them. I don't know how true that is, but anyway, it doesn't matter. We've basically made our own driver's door by extending it to the length we needed, and we're going to pull a pattern off of that and make the passenger side door and get that installed. Then we can go ahead and fill in these quarter panel front sections, fill in that fuel door, and then we have to figure out exactly where this fin is going to terminate. Are we going to have it terminate here, like in the sketch, like the muscle cars had it, where they had the kind of like the rear haunches, where it kind of takes off from there, the Chevelles, those kind of cars, or are we going to extend it into the front door, like the Chrysler 300s in the early 60s? So I'm not quite sure yet. I'm leaning towards back here, but then again, I do change my mind from time to time, and it might end up there. We'll leave it at that for now. This here, that's from a little test drive around the block. It's a little wind blowing. Anyway. Okay, so looking at the roof here, a little more hammer and dolly work. We've got this radius matching up with the one around the front, this curvature here. And it's looking quite nice. A little flat spot there, I've got to work that out. Got to stretch it a little bit, shrink it a little bit. See, the reflection comes down and kind of stops there, so there's a bit of a low spot that has to be worked up. Initially I was joking about putting antennae on both sides, make a little vent there like the Mercury Turnpike Cruisers. Thanks for throwing that in the comments for me. I couldn't remember the name of the car. I thought it was a Ford, but it was a Mercury, and well, I don't think it's going to fit the personality of this car to have those little things up there. So it wasn't too much to just take and blend that in. Back here, That post is temporary. That's going to actually come over here to help support things when we cut the bottom loose, so we can set this post where it needs to be. Right now I think it's a little bit out. Yeah, it's sticking out past the rear window. We need to have all these window panes align. There used to be a space up here, if you remember, and we've taken that out by laying the windshield back and lowering the roof that 1.25 inches. So it's streamlined everything. And you can see that the angle of the back glass flows right up into that roof. Let's go on the other side. See, that turned out quite nice. We still have to fill in the bottom here and all that, but all in due time. That's the door we're going to be working on today. See, we have to recreate that brace and this whole bottom. And up here, that's blending in really well. Bit of a flat spot in the roof up in here. We have to hammer and dolly that because I haven't gotten that far yet, but this has all been blended. And we need to finish the cowl, get that welded up. So I've just transferred the pattern onto this piece of sheet metal. I'm just going to cut on the outside of that line, give me a little bit of extra wiggle room because sheet metal behaves a little bit differently than cardboard. So we want to make sure we don't shortchange ourselves. It's close, but we don't want to shortchange ourselves. We're going to wheel this panel up a little bit because this car does not have any flat surfaces whatsoever. Even though they're long and straight, they do have convex shapes to them. We need to give this sail panel a bit of shape. I'm using quite a flat anvil, not the flattest one, but the next one down, just to give us a nice consistent stretch with no tracking marks that we need to clean up later. I'm not following the curvature of this panel, like I'm not wheeling this panel up this way. I'm actually doing it in the same direction as the roof flows down the side of the car. After I wheel this up, it's quite a soft curvature, so hopefully you guys can see it when I'm done. But you'll understand why I'm doing it this way. So you can see that we've developed a little bit of curvature this way. You don't need much because you don't want a bubble in the sail panel transitioning from the rear window to the drip rail. You just want a nice consistent curvature, and that's what we have here. If I went this way, I developed the curvature the wrong way. As you can see, that's going to fit in quite well, and we don't have any tracking marks. Okay, so we're going to bring this in from the back side, but before we do that, I need to transfer that post, a support brace, into here, because when I cut this, I don't want this to fall down, open up, or move. By moving this in and out, it's going to change my distance. If I have it out too far, it has to go in. If I have it out too far, it's going to create too much length here, which will mess me up. If I go to push it in, it's going to twist this panel around. This panel has to be installed in the location where this is going to be, not where we think it'll be. See, by having it out here, you might be 1/8 of an inch longer than you should be. And if I go to push that in after, it's not going to behave properly. So I want to set it to where it will be, and then we can, I could put a tack there or a clamp. Let's put a clamp there. And then we'll scribe to that opening. Put some witness lines. We just bring everything in, line it up, and begin tacking. Okay, so there we are. We're going to take and cut along that blue line. See how close we were right there? That's fine. We don't want to cut on the wrong side of the blue line. We want to cut away on the outside of it, outside, so that when we bring it in, it fits seamlessly. Otherwise we'll have a gap and the piece will be too small. So we've got our sail panel with a convex shape to it. Let's see how it looks fitting it from the front side. So the more time, the more care you take in fitting your panel, the more successful you'll be in having a nice finish at the end. Okay. Lining up our witness lines. I'm going to come down a little bit. If I start tacking it and we have a gap up here, you have to cut the tacks to fix it. And that's going to be good. By the time the roof rolls together at the top, everything's going to fit the way it needs to. Well, we've got our piece clamped in place. You can see it's coming in together quite well. Witness lines are lining up. There's a little gap here. The 16th is going to tuck. When this roof tucks down, that'll close up. That's all good. We're close enough now that we can start putting a series of tacks on this panel. And then we can finish it, closing that space in. I want to get this roof solidified, get the webs in on both sides. We need to do some beadwork on them. I think I mentioned that before, and then weld them in. And that way nothing's going to be moving around anymore. It doesn't move anyway. We put additional reinforcements in the pillars in the front and on the insides, so that's all good. And all we have to do, all that's left to do, is finish welding the outside cowl. Alright guys, so we've got the roof, front corner welded, got the sail panel installed, a little more work to do in terms of plenishing, but as you can see those reflections are coming in quite nice, starting at the top, 1, 2, and 3. Next step is to get those sail panel structural pieces in place. However, I'm not going to weld them in, yeah, you see everything's been primed inside. But I'm not going to weld those structural pieces in just yet. All the support's been welded inside, but I don't want to trap myself in case I need to do something in here or with the window. So we're going to leave those structural pieces on screws for the moment. They're right here. We still need to prime the insides, but I want to create the little offsets in those parts. And while I was waiting for that epoxy to dry, went ahead and laid out the door bottoms for the driver's side as well as the passenger side. This one here, we're not going to be ready for a little while, but that one there, we're going to try and get that installed shortly. Christmas is coming early. We're getting a lot of the parts in for the car. We're not that far off from pre-assembly. I want to get this done because I have the marks on the finish side. I need to move the wheel over and move this one out. Set that up. Good. Saves remarking everything on that side. I want to create an innie. So that's one right there. Came out nice. Okay, very good. Right side, left side, we'll get these primered and we'll get them installed. Okay, primer's applied. Throw these in. Let's see, which side is this? Driver's side. It would be nice to weld this in permanent, but not just yet. Don't want to get ahead of ourselves. I had some screws in here. That's it. Structures pinned in place. So when we're on the final stretch of welding those structural pieces in, there is one more joint we need to weld up there. And there's some little gussets that came out of two top corners that have to go back in place to finish everything off. We can take and remove this post and clean that up. So I have one more line to make, our cut line for the door bottom. The one closer to you is for the driver's side. Cut that off right there. Go to the brake and bend all this up. Let's get this bent up. This needs to go pick up the inside of the door, so we're going to bend this upward. That's a thing. Got to visualize this because we don't want to mess up. It's going to be pretty sharp. And this is going to be 90 degrees because it comes down, over, down, over, down. Yeah. 18 gauge is fun. Good. Now, I want, that's really nice. Very good. Yeah, that's good. I want this edge to be a soft edge, soft bend. And it needs to be about there. Good. So that's going to pick up the inside edge of the door. See, nice soft radius, perfect. Now we need to take and bend that up and then bend that down. And that's going to be the tricky part because we need to get it in as tight as we can so we're pulling this off. Excuse me. Okay. So there is one door bottom. 1/4 inch to engage with the door hem that's factory. And this is going to be over the door sill, seal, hem, back edge of the door. Thank you very much. So now we can go ahead, this is passenger side, bend up the driver's side one, and get that door ready to get it installed. We'll compare the two in a minute. there we go. One door bottom, nice radius, and then all of our steps. Let's go compare this to the driver's door. So here we have the rusty door bottom in all its glory. This is the outward extension with our drop, and then the pickup of the hem right there. We see the old hem right here. And when we compare this one, nice, fresh, oily sheet metal, we see that we have the same thing. Next step is going to be to take and grind off, cut off this door bottom. Remove this structural piece in here. We'll have to make a new one out of 16 gauge. We'll get the door bottom in, radius to corners, front, back, and recreate that and get it in. I'll lay that out to show you where we're going to be bending, how we're going to be bending, and then we'll get into bending that together. Yeah, it's dry. So I took the door shell off, media blasted it, threw a coat of epoxy primer on there, and I've gone ahead and marked out where the roll is going to happen. So the back's going to roll up, the front's going to roll up, and we'll get this position in place, clamp it, and get it on a few screws. Try the door, see if everything, all the clearances are good, and then we'll go ahead and weld it in. Now the way I set this up, this material up here is going to be cut away. It better be longer than shorter, at least that's what I heard. Cut this off at this line here. This is going to be the roll, the radius. It's going to roll up, and it'll, by rights, tie into the front and rear corners of this door. Now, if you notice this line here, it's just below the radius. I don't cut on the radius because I have to recreate the radius. What I do is I'll cut back just below the radius of this bend and then roll it up. Same on the back side. And that minute amount that I've left will stay in place. And it's a lot easier to blend my little piece, my little triangles, if I need them, into that little flange than into a corner, because then I have to recreate the corner. You know, it's a bit of a pain. You can put a bunch of weld in there and grind it. Not the best way to do it. It looks more finished when you just cut below, cut above this radius, roll it up, and install it. I'll show you as we go along. There's a little bit of a rusty area down below here. I didn't cut the entire radius away just yet. I cut this side of it so that I can recreate the radius, match everything up, make sure this fits where it has to, and then when I pin it in place, I'll cut away the rotten part, the holy part there, and we'll weld in the new bottom. Like, this is the stuff that we're dealing with. I can see you. Can you see me? My hand? Yeah, so there's a little bit of that still happening here. I didn't want to disturb it until we get the bottoms rolled in, and then once everything blends in, like I said, we'll take and cut it away. Okay, this is garbage. Okay, so there we have it. Just below the radius, just above the radius on both ends. Now we'll clamp a die into the vise and roll that around. I did cut back a little bit further in case we need to make an adjustment within the door cavity. We don't have to take the whole piece up, we can just work it with a hammer and dolly in place. Puckering a little bit there, it's not an issue. We'll just shrink it into itself afterwards. Let's see if we can fit this into place. Do we go on the inside or the outside? We gotta go on the outside. Reason why? Because the step in here for the hinge pocket, this won't slide up into place. That's okay. Well, we're running into a bit of an issue with this bottom corner here. Back here, it's not too bad actually. We've got to slide ahead a little bit. Matter of fishing it in. Well, that is close. I'd like to get the back edge this edge here on the inside, and that just the way it is. So let's pull this out. I was reading through the comments, and somebody had an issue with me saying, we'll get to that later, saying that I say that a lot. I guess that's true, because this job, the scope of work is so large that I really can't get it done all in one episode. So, like I say, we get to it later, because see that? It just jumped into place. I hope you guys can see that. It just happened so fast, boom. Okay, we can roll this down, fit it to the radius of the door, bring this down so that it fits the bottom of the door. I can't close the door because we have a bit of excess material on the back side. The back leg that rolls up, I have to cut that off. Probably on the front as well. And this one here, we're gonna have to work that in when that falls into place. It's kind of close, blurry probably, but this part here, I gotta trim that off. Or do that. No, I'll trim it off because we can't get it past the jamb. So we'll trim off this a little bit here. That. Yeah, that's hitting the hinge. We're gonna have to cut this back like so, and that'll get blended into the hinge pocket. Right now, I'm gonna cut it off like that, and we'll get to that later. Meaning, in a few minutes, when I get this piece more or less clamped into where it's gotta be, then we'll scribe the pocket. To get everything done in one episode, like door jambs, doors, door bottom, door skin, it's not too practical. You know, it's not TV. This is reality. Like, I could go ahead and do a whole bunch of work and then just give you the highlights. But I think some of you appreciate the little finer details that we tackle here. Can we close this door? Almost. Well, the door's shut. Awesome. Now this has to be rolled in. Why is that out like that? Ah. Holy smokes. Now, things may look a mile off, but they're not. We'll take care of this front little corner, trim that back, get rid of that so it lays down nice and flat. This bottom has to slide forward, and back here I made a mark where we need to rebend this corner, pushing this bottom inward. Right now, because the way it's situated, it's actually pulling the inner skin outward. So when we push that in, that'll fall back into place. It's twisting the back edge of the door. Let me make that adjustment and then refit this, which means I need to unsnap this from the door structure. Hopefully we can do that. It's snapped in with a vengeance. Not bad. Okay, so I re-rolled the back edge and I can get this installed here. Let's cut this off. Like that. I think the other part I can do within when it's mounted on the door. has to be tightened up at the back. This corner has to go away. It's kind of in the way of sliding inward. The front isn't fitting too bad. Okay, take it out again. Good. Okay, notice there's a bit of an arc in the middle. See that right there? Chrysler has a very thin flange to pick up the bottom of the door. So that's what we kind of copied here. Theirs was about a quarter, or I guess 5/16. Back here we have to make a new corner, get that to blend in, and we should scribe this and trim away any excess material. That'll have to be worked into the pocket. Oops. We need to make a reinforcement here as well. Scribe this. Happy little line. Good. Now we get to take this all off again. Trim off to just within a 1/4 inch. I want a bit of overlap along the bottom of the door for some strength. This was a butt joint here, but just through here, around here, I'm going to blend it in with an overlap weld. The latch is free. And there we go. So we've got a bit of material to cut away there, blend this corner in, finish the front. Still a lot left to do. Okay, let's try closing it. Clamp be okay there. That's where we want to be. The bottom edge of the door lines up just on the inside of the rocker when I push it in, twist it in. I'm going to put a clamp here, just a squeeze clamp to hold that. And oops, that's why it was weird. Right there. That's what we want. And in regards to this hole, we need to enlarge this for the new power window regulators. But I'm leaving this as it is right now. It just gives me a little more clamping force or clamping area. Okay, that'll blend. That's good. Let's get some tacks on this. This has to be radiused up to come into here. Whenever you're welding on a door, when it's attached to the body, don't clamp to the rocker or sheet metal somewhere and have the arc go through the pins or the latches. Or if you have electrical in the door, it could go through that too. So just make sure that it's clamped to the door when you're working on the door. Sounding a lot more solid. Let's see if we can open it. The door's a lot more rigid, see that? Okay. Wow. That's this thing rattling. Boom. What a difference. And now comes the hard part, finishing it. These corners, got to work them in, planish this out. I need to cut away some of this material because we can't have a flange over top of a flange. Otherwise the skin's not going to sit right. Right now this bottom of the door is running over top of that. So I need to just trim a little bit of that away, work the two pieces together. That's done. And this back edge needs to be rolled in to mate up with the back edge of the door. Aside from that, I think we are set to go. Take the screws out too. That'll help. There. Okay, and there we have it. The bottom section of the door is installed, welded, pretty much finished. A little corner here you got to finish, reinforcement there, and this piece is going to fit right in there. We need to add a little bit of material. I'll show you on the sheet metal in a second. This is what we're going to be starting with. A little piece of sheet metal here, 18 gauge. I'm going to take and cut it out, stick it in the tipping wheel, roll it, and then we're going to form it to fit. Let's give us a nice start. See that? We'll trim away the excess. Gonna roll that over a little bit more, stretch it, make it flat because right now it's curved. Okay, now since I want a nice radius edge, nice. That's going to fit up in there just like that. We're going to take this out. Little trick, take out the majority and then come in and creep in on your piece. That way you're not mangling the part you want as much. Okay. We'll get this welded in. All right guys, so we got the back corner of the door finished. The little flange here has been repaired, so now it flows down from the back edge into the bottom of the door. In regards to the seal, we can use a factory seal from a 2-door. It's a little bit longer. It'll fit right into the stock location, and we'll just trim it up and it'll sit right where it needs to sit, where the factory intended it to sit. So that's all done. Last thing to do is this front corner. And this is what we took out, a piece of 16 gauge, basically turned into paper mache. And it was the extension of the structural web that carried down to the bottom of the door. If we don't have this, if we say forget this, leave this out, this door will be flexing through this area and you'll get stress cracks in this area from the constant opening and closing of the door. We're going to repair that with this. New piece of 16 formed up, and that's going to slide right up into place. I got to tap it in, and then we'll just plug weld it, and it's done. And the door is closed, it's sitting where it needs to be sitting. I should have put a clamp on that. Where'd it go? I had a clamp here. I just want to make sure that it's twisted downward so the bottom edge of the door, when we're done, is aligned with the rocker panel. So let's tap that in, weld it in. Just put it in on the corner so I can take and tap the top in and basically fit it to the door as the door sits. Let's see how this door behaves. Open it up, feels good, feels really strong, really solid. A little bit of twist to it, and it's only because we don't have a skin on it yet. There's no top portion of the door. This is from the old skin. We're gonna have to recreate that once we get the skin done up. So it should close. Beautiful. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, hit the like button. This was a real crucial step in terms of us moving forward to create the passenger side door. The way this one was set up before, moving around every which way, we couldn't have done much with it because we couldn't have trusted what we had. We had to finalize all this bottom stuff so that when it opens, look at that, it opens precisely every time. Got to clean that latch up. It's got that gumbo inside there, the old lubricant that has to be cleaned out and then just, you know, freed up and cleaned up. So I'll take care of that later. There's that later word again. In the meantime, I'm going to pull some templates off of this door and start preparing to make the passenger side door. It's not going to be made out of one piece. It's going to be made out of sections, front, bottom, rear, and then main web, all joined together. So if you thought this bottom was a lot of work, wait till we get into that, because we have to make sure that the hinges work with the latches, and you know, and then we have these forms here that match the body side. We can't, you know, it's gonna be a big job. So until then, thanks for watching. Take care. And if you're new to our channel, hit that subscribe button so you can follow along with the progress on this car. Because once that door structure is done and we get the skins on, she's gonna move ahead rather quickly. Quarters to finish up, rockers, and a little bit of metal finishing, that front fender, you know, it's a big job, but we're inching our way closer to the finish line with this elephant. Take care.